Small Screen Reviews with Clint Baker.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Small Screen Reviews with Clint Baker. We're going to be talking about Bad Batch Episode 2. Before we get started, guys, I need you guys to like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell so you can find out about future videos. Guys, what a week, man. We got 2 pieces of Star Wars content in 1 week. Star Wars decided to release the first episode of The Bad Batch on Star Wars Day on May 4th, and boy, the 4th was with us, and we got to watch that. That was a really fun first episode, and today we got episode 2. Man, it was good. I'm gonna say it was a slower episode. It was not quite as exciting as the first episode, but this isn't a bad thing. This is a thing that that shows do when they're building up. So I have a feeling the next one is going to be super good. So and also, you know, they're releasing 2 right after another. They're just they come out with a bang, and then they dip down a little bit, and then they're going to come back, and there's going to be a bunch of surprises. If you have not seen the show, we're about to get into spoilers. So if you want to see the ending of this show, you can move up to this time, and then and we'll see you next time. But right now, I'm going to get into what we saw today. Usually I stay up all night. I had some family in town, so I did not do this in the middle of the night. So it's actually I'm actually a little refreshed. So yeah, so here we go. First of all, they start off on the ship, right? And they're in the ship, and it cuts to the little girl sleeping with Wrecker, and there's like, oh, poor little thing must be tuckered out. She's been all over the ship, and Tech's like, well, man, what are we gonna do with this kid? You know, it's a kid. She's got no business with a bunch of soldiers. It's like, we'll figure it out. They don't really say anything. And then they're like, hey, we're approaching Seleucami, and I'm like, Seleucami. So where's that? And they get to the planet. They have a big dramatic thing they did a big dramatic thing where she steps off and's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "It's dirt." She's never seen dirt before. She's been on Camino her whole life, you know, and she's a kid, and so it's like, oh, and real oxygen, you know, and oh, it's beautiful. And so they have this dramatic thing, and with dramatic music, and even have a dragonfly type of creature. It's like, oh, then they start going, and they're like, okay, well. Yeah, Cut should be right over here. And I was like, yes, the deserter. I knew it. I called it last week. They're going to go see Cut. And I was right. And so they get there. Next thing you know, hit a tripwire. And next thing they know, they got a Twi'lek with their gun in their face. It was like, hey, oh, our bad. And then they get invited in. Hey, guys, long time no see. How you doing, you big lug? And they all go into the house and hang out. And then the 2 little children that are there are like, hey, you're coming with us. And they get to go out and play ball. And this kid is like, playing? What's that? And it's cool. So this kid's never seen kids before. So he's kind of having to learn how to be a kid. It's kind of funny because she's been around grown-ups her whole life. I actually know some people like that. They're a little bit weird. They've been around grown-ups. They don't ever hang out with kids. But so she goes off. The ball goes over the fence where they're not allowed to go because there's dangers, of course, and she ends up going out and almost getting eaten by a big I don't even know what kind of creature it was. Then, of course, like a soldier would do, Hunter's like, hey, you know, the kid's okay, but then he's like, hey, what are you doing getting out there? And kind of scolds her a little bit, and they're like, hey, man, you can't talk to her like she's a soldier. She's a kid. You know, and they're like, hey, you okay, kid? Oh, come on, you're going to be all right. Kid goes up, jumps in the ship, sits in there and's pouting. He's like, fine, I'm going to stay up here and be, you know, that's what kids do. They, you know, so she's kind of pouting because she got scolded. Then they got to figure out how to get off the planet because there's all of a sudden the bad guys are coming. So they're start to figure out, hey, we got to get out of here. There's Imperial ships headed this way, and so they say, okay, hey, well, you want to ride with us? And Cut, you know, he's got his family, and he's like, dude, you guys are wanted men. I can't travel with you guys. It's too dangerous for my kids, you know. So we're gonna have to get a ship and get out of here. So the Tech comes up with a scheme, gets their ship basically impounded. They called it in as an abandoned ship, gets it impounded so they could get on the inside. And meanwhile, they're trying to get in through the outside and board as passengers. So Cut and Hunter go to find some transportation to get off, and they've got credits. They're going to try and sneak their way out of here, and then all of a sudden they figured out your credits are no good without a chain code. Chain code is an Imperial identification that they've worked out, and so they're like, everyone, turn in your credits for Imperial credits, and you will get your chain code. And it's just like you really get a sense at this part. You see some of the troopers and stuff, and now they're more like policing than they are fighting a war. They're like policing the people, and all of a sudden, this is like an Imperial takeover, and you kind of get a sense of that. And then with the chain codes, it's kind of like, where are your papers? You know, it's like, uh-oh, this is turning into a really forceful presence, and now they're gonna have everyone on file with chain codes. Tech is like, dude, that's brilliant. You could just document everyone. That's kind of crazy, and you could tell how oh, we're doing this for your safety, but really it's like an overreach, and now there's going to be an impending presence of the Empire, controlling everything, and you kind of get that sense of like, uh-oh. And so anyway, so they figure out, man, they can't buy their way onto a ship. They have to do something. So anyway, Tech figured out, hey, we can get up there, we'll get our ship impounded, and then we can get some cards and get chain codes for you. So they go in there and they go to do that, and but what's funny is they get the ship impounded, and Omega is still in the ship. They didn't know she was on there, but she was throwing her little tantrum up there. Not a tantrum, really, but she's up there pouting. And oops. So now they have the kid, which is a dangerous situation for a kid to be in. And Hunter's like, "What? What do you mean? Omega's on the ship?" And so they're trying to look out for this kid. So then Hunter tells them, "Hey, I'm gonna need her to go with you guys," which I think it's funny that he didn't ask. He's like, "Hey, the kid's gonna go with you guys," and like, and it's like, it'd be kind of like, "Hey, would you please take care of this kid? She's not our kid. Would you take?" But just, "Hey, she's going with you." I thought that was kind of funny. We already have 2 kids. We don't need a third. Anyway, long story short, they go and the kid ends up, they do all kinds of sneaking around and get the cards, the chain codes and stuff, and the kid ends up taking the cards and the chain codes and sneaking back to give them the cards, and there's a bunch of shooting and a whole bunch of stuff, and she basically saves the day. Then they say, "Hey, there's 5 cards instead of 4 by mistake," and he's like, "No, kid, you're gonna go with them." And as you knew right away, she doesn't go with them. They go and they take off, and at the very last second, she's like, "Wait for me!" And she, almost gets caught. Hunter has to kick some ass real quick. She jumps on the ship with them, and I expected her to say, "Hey, kid, we're a bunch of soldiers. You need to be with a family, And I thought she was going to say, "But you are my family," but that didn't happen. But he pretty much said, "Hey, kid, if you want to be with us, you can come with us." And it was cool. It was setting everything up. It wasn't the most exciting episode. And Clone Wars had a lot of that. You'd have some dull ones, and then all of a sudden you have some fantastic episodes. So this is just setting a foundation. You need to establish the relationship. You need to establish them starting to care for the child. You need to establish that, hey, she's actually pretty daring and has some abilities. Maybe she didn't really showcase much yet, but she was willing to take those cards and do what needed to be done. So I have a feeling we're going to see her sneaking through some ventilation shafts and things here in the future. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. Like I said, I would almost call it a filler episode if we weren't setting up this whole storyline. We're basically setting everything up and understanding where everybody stands, and they did the natural thing, which is like, "Kid, you don't belong with a bunch of soldiers," and then they're like, "You know what? You're one of us." Okay, so now she's with them now, and we'll see where their adventures take us next week. So I'm excited because that means just like other shows, I used to watch Walking Dead. That's how this was a long, slow talking episode. Next one is going to be really good, and it always is. Game of Thrones did the same thing, so I have a feeling next week's going to be really good. Who knows what's going to happen? We'll see. So, guys, We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching Small Screen Reviews. I'm Clint Baker. We'll see you soon.
Move along.